Hey everyone, last week my girlfriend, my family, and I went down to Shenandoah National Park and the Blue Ridge Parkway in Virginia. I figured I'd record some clips, show you along the trip, and give you some recommendations. So coming from Pennsylvania, we started the trip in Delaware, ultimately made our way to the Chesapeake House, which is a rest stop in Maryland. Leah tried on the super fun crab hat. They had plenty of Old Bay and Maryland flag themed merchandise. It was kind of crazy. Then we kept driving, drove through Baltimore. Didn't go into the city, but we saw the skyline and everything. There's their football stadium before eventually making our way across the river and into Virginia. Now, our first stop of the day was at Great Falls Park, which is a National Park Service run park in Northern Virginia. It is not a national park. It doesn't even have its own designation. There's Toby, my lovely pup. And it's just basically a big waterfall. There it is. Really beautiful. But what this clip doesn't show is that it was actually ridiculously hot here. Like, really hot. There's Toby panting. That fur coat is doing him in dirty there. But yeah, it was in the high 90s, if not over 100 degrees. Sun beating right down. So yeah, it was hot. We moved from Overlook 3 to Overlook 2 and then 1. Got some views more close up to the waterfall, which was cool. Toby decided he wanted to join us for some of our little rock climbing we were doing to get to the overlooks, and he is half Bernese Mountain Dog, so he did way better than we thought we would, and this is a precursor to the rest of the trip, where he did more hiking, and he cooled off with some water, and I cooled off with a towel, because it was hot. Next, we made our way to Leesburg, Virginia, which was a nice little town, not far from Great Falls. We stopped at a place called Market Station to get lunch at a place called Fireworks Pizza. We got some pepperoni rolls, spinach and artichoke dip, bruschetta, and then as far as pizza went, we got a margarita pizza, which was pretty good. I would say, above average. And then this sweet heat pizza that was actually really good. Afterwards, we decided to walk around the downtown a little bit. And they had a nice little downtown area, really only one street, but there were some cute shops. Had some, little knickknacks and such. And then there was also this pretty cool Virginia store that sold Virginia themed shirts and snacks and stuff. I took some pictures at Great Falls and then around town, so I'll show some of them to you now. But yeah, Leesburg was cool. It was a nice little town, worth walking around, and it's convenient to Great Falls Park. So if you're on your way down to Shenandoah from north, it might be a good place to stop, stretch your legs, and grab lunch. Then we made our way to Charlottesville, Virginia, which is home of the University of Virginia, but it's also just a cool town. They have one of those old vintage marquee theater signs, and I love those. Went to Chat's Ice Cream, recommendation from a friend who goes to UVA, and I got an ice cream called the Golden Nugget, which was butter pecan and caramel. It was really, really good. Unfortunately, though, it did make Toby a little bit jealous, but that's okay. We just walked around town a little bit more, and yeah, that was pretty much the end of the day. We headed to our Airbnb, which was this cool little Airbnb in the mountains, a little cabin with a cool deck and a great view of the woods. So yeah, that was the end of day one. So we got up and we headed into the park. Finally, I know that's the part of the video you guys are probably waiting for. So in Shenandoah, there's a road called Skyline Drive. It runs north to south through all 100 miles of the park. And along it, there are plenty of overlooks like this one, where you can just pull the car over and get some incredible views of the Shenandoah Valley. So we headed north, and we went to the visitor center at Big Meadows, went into the store. They had some cool stuff. And of course, I had to get my National Parks passport stamped. This is a program that you can do where you buy a passport and you can get a free stamp at every national park or national park site. So I do this. I have a passport for every place that I've gone. First hike of the trip that we did was the Rose River Trail. It is a 4.85 mile trail. It had over 1,000 feet of elevation gain. It started off pretty easy, went downhill to the bottom of this waterfall, which was really pretty. Toby got really dirty, but then we hiked up to Dark Hollow Falls, which is one of the main attractions of the park. It's one of the most popular things, and you can access it from this alternate trail. This isn't the main trail to get there, but you can get there from this other trail that we were doing, the Rose River Trail. We made our way back down to the Rose River Trail. Toby fully embraced his Bernese Mountain Dog heritage and was running all over the place. And I didn't do as much recording on the way up. Here is Rose River Falls. That's another waterfalls on the trail. But I didn't do as much recording on the way back up because this trail was kind of hard on the way back up. Like I said, there was over 1,000 feet of elevation gain and it was hot. But we did it. Wanted to reward ourselves for the hike a little bit, so we went to Skyland. They have a shop there, but we went for food. We got a Caesar salad, some bread, these awesome apple pork sliders, and then some buffalo wings. Paired along with the great view, it was the perfect stop and exactly what we needed after the hike. We continued along Skyline Drive before ultimately going to downtown Harrisonburg, home of James Madison University. The town itself was fine. We went to Jack Brown's Burger Bar, and the food there was actually really good, despite the town just being kind of okay. I got a burger that actually had mac and cheese on it, which was really interesting, and sweet potato fries. And then after, we got ice cream. Toby was tempted by my milkshake, but don't worry guys, we got him his own little pup cup of soft serve ice cream, and he knocked it out. But yeah, that's the end of day 2. Next day was my dad's birthday, and for 4 or 5 years now, we've had a tradition of climbing a mountain on his birthday. Doesn't need to be a big one, but a mountain. So we did the Upper Hawksbill Trail Loop, which takes you to the summit of Hawksbill Mountain. We saw a deer, which was cool, and the views from the top were pretty good. Good views of the Shenandoah Valley, cool, like, rocky, environment up there. And yeah, I would recommend this hike. It was actually pretty easy, much easier than our hike yesterday. We then went to Elk Wallow Wayside. They had this cool store with all sorts of camping equipment and stuff that you need. I got a blackberry milkshake, which was delicious. Stopped at some more overlooks and the Dickey Ridge Visitor Center on the north end of the park before we ultimately made our way to Front Royale, or Front Royal, I don't know how it's pronounced. Cool town. Went to a place called Pavement for lunch. It's an old converted gas station that now sells barbecue. They're smoking it right there. Got a Bavarian pretzel and nachos for an appetizer, and then got brisket and pulled pork and some mac and cheese to share with Leah for the food. It was all super good. Then we walked around town a little bit. They had this cool little downtown area. Popped in and out of some shops to get out of the heat. But yeah, it was nice. The only complaint is that it was blistering hot. Look at the car monitor. 102 degrees. Hot. For dinner, we went to a nearby lounge that had a restaurant called Bear Appetit. They had a good view from the restaurant. We got some onion rings. We got some cheese curds for dinner. I got some chicken, fruit, and mac and cheese. And Leah got a salad with strawberries and pecans. And we both split those in half. Then we rushed back to the park to try to catch sunset because we noticed it was going to be a good one. Got to our spot just in time. Watched the sun slowly go down and paint the sky with these beautiful, beautiful colors. It was honestly one of the best sunsets I've ever seen. Video definitely doesn't capture it. But yeah, it was a great day. Front Royale was a nice little town. It's a shame it was so hot, or I feel like we could have loved it more. And the sunset was just incredible. These pictures show a little bit better what it was like in person, but you can't even capture it. The next day was our last in the park, so we started by going south on Skyline Drive for the first time, made our way to the Black Rock Summit trailhead to do that hike. It was a pretty easy hike, and it was cool because it actually went on the Appalachian Trail. They overlap here, which was fun, For those who don't know, the Appalachian Trail runs from Maine to Georgia, super long trail. At the top of the hike, there was this cool rocky section that you actually had to scramble up to get to the top of the mountain, but once you did, the views were incredible. I actually had a lot of fun with the scrambling. Leah was a little bit stressed out, but overall, we were happy when we got to the top. Toby himself was a little jealous of us, but we made our way down the mountain, stopped at, some of the waysides. I got another blackberry shake, and we went back to Big Meadows where I got fried chicken that was delicious, and we did one last hike, also called Black Rock. No, it's not the same hike as the Black Rock we did this morning, and got some cool views. So, as far as Shenandoah goes, what are my thoughts? I think it's a really beautiful park. It's nice how accessible it is to the East Coast. The drives are beautiful, and it's easy to just stop at some of these places. It can get a little repetitive, so 2 days is probably the right amount of time that you'd want to spend here, but that's up to you and how much hiking you'd like to do. The last thing we did on this day is we headed into Charlottesville again and went to the University of Virginia campus to walk around, see some of the buildings that were designed by Thomas Jefferson, and I like walking around campuses, getting a sense for what college life is like in other parts of the country. And ultimately we made our way back to the main pedestrian-only area to get dinners at Sal's Cafe Italia. I had some of the worst bruschetta I've ever had because it was just drenched in balsamic. But I had some lobster ravioli that were also really good. Did some more walking around town. It was a Friday night, so it was a bit more active, but I'm still sure it's not as active as it would be during the semester. Got some ice cream from Chaps again, and this time I got peach and cherry vanilla. They were both really good. I'll show you some pictures from the evening, but yeah, pretty much after our time in Charlottesville, which is a nice little town, we saw a little bit of a sunset, hopped in the car, and headed back home after a long day. We started the last day of this leg of the trip at a Prague-themed bakery. Got a breakfast sandwich. It was actually pretty good. Then we made our way to the Blue Ridge Parkway, which actually just continues straight down if you drive straight through the south end of Shenandoah. It's not part of the national park, but it's all kind of the same area, which is why I kept it in this video. We went to Crabtree Falls, which is a little waterfall hike you can do kind of right off the Blue Ridge Parkway. And it was really cool. It was kind of a multi-tier thing, so you start at the bottom and you can choose how far up you want to go. We only went about halfway up. Leah was a little upset because she didn't think we were doing any hiking at all this day, but we did do a little hike. It ended up being about a mile, half a mile up, half a mile down, but the views are really good. The waterfalls were really pretty. Ended up getting back on the parkway, headed towards Natural Bridge State Park. So it's not run by the Park Service, it's a state park, and because of that it was a little bit more expensive. It was $10 a person. Compare that to Shenandoah, which was $30 a vehicle for a whole week. But look at that. I mean, it's beautiful, it's impressive, it's massive. It's a really cool stop, so it's probably worth doing. And a fun fact is that George Washington was on a surveying trip here with Thomas Jefferson's dad, and he carved his initials in right there, GW, you can see it. But we got back on the parkway, continued a bit more on our journey, stopped at Abbott Lake, which was pretty, but that's pretty much it. For the rest of the trip, we are ultimately heading towards Roanoke, Blacksburg, Virginia, and New River Gorge National Park. But that's going to be in a separate video. So as for this video, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.